Hey Shannon, all things being equal, so I adjusted some numbers on there, right? I put that both parents pay $150 a week towards child care, and both parents pay about $40 for their insurance each. And it came out to the mother paying the father $38 a month. I mean $38 a week. So if you split everything, you should be all right.
Yeah, when you split, it's based on income, and then there's two type of custodies. There's you have physical custody and you have legal custody.
Right.
Legal custody is about who gets the shot, who gets to make medical decisions and stuff like that, and then the physical is in person. BZ had a question before we run. JR BZ, he hit us with a super chat, but he had a question, and I think his question was something about what's the rules when it comes to a stepdad. For those that know, I was a stepdad, and I say it's a bad deal, but that's for another discussion. BZ, the man code, when it comes to stepdaddies, the rule is you defer to the biological father, even though the kid is living in your house. If you don't want no smoke, you don't want no issues. You pay for groceries, you paying for that bed, you paying for you putting gas in you doing all of that stuff, but deference goes to the biological father if you want a harmonious household. Typically, now if the father is a deadbeat and he's gone, he ain't around, then you got full autonomy. But then even then, that's between you and the woman, because that's where the argument is. The issue that we have in today is not so much between men and men. It's not between stepfathers and biological dads. Men get along by and large. I know there's a few ghetto situations. I ain't talking about those. Men get along. It's women that's putting a wedge in there between, and women, because they weaponize their children against their husband, and they weaponize their children against their baby daddy with their new husband. So that's where the issue comes oftentimes. And when it comes to discipline, when it comes to buying Christmas gifts, when it comes to who gets the new Air Jordans and all that kind of stuff, the autonomy always falls back on mom. And it's almost like, as a stepdad, you typically have to ask permission, where if it's your biological children, you just do what the fuck you want to do.
So, fuck that shit. Hell no.
It's a cold game, bro.
The only thing about that, Hank, is I know it's a dirty game, because you're dealing with a fully autonomous person who has the freedom and the motion to be able to make their own decisions. So when it really does come down to dealing with somebody that's cooperative.
Hold on, what do you mean? Who has
the
right?
So like what?
I have a right to make no decision in my house. What are you talking about?
What do you mean? Yes, she does.
What do you mean?
A child. You said a child.
No, we talking about the woman, man. I'm talking about the woman. I ain't talking about the kid. I'm talking about the woman.
Well, look here. First things first. If you're gonna be dealing with a woman with a child, she got to she better set the parameters. Let that child know he's the man of the house.
Agreed.
What he says goes. That's got to be.
The 80s. That's that 80s and 90s mentality.
What I'm talking about is
that's 2024 for me. My lady had to get that shit set up straight. I'm not doing this. I'm not going in this situation like that. You have to make sure that precedent is set, and if it's not set, that's a problem. She got to say something.
Now, what does that have?
We're not doing this. This man's not going to tell me what's going on in my home. Now, if that's the case, he needs to come get his child and go off and wherever they at. If you don't want, now look here, I'm not going to sit there and spank the man, but if I feel like the child needs to be punished, yeah, she gonna be punished, or he gonna be punished. Yeah, you can do that.
Well, wait, why did you give that disclaimer? Why did you say I'm not gonna spank the child?
Because I don't believe it.
Huh?
I don't believe in it.
Oh, so you don't spank any child?
Me,
no.
Oh, okay.
So I will.
I thought you were making a distinction between somebody else's kid and
their kid and your kid.
Said that, Sweeney. I do. Sweeney ass said that.
I'm an equal opportunity ass whooper. I
Hey,
was
Sweeney,
mad.
I had
Yeah,
planned
you
on it.
sound like you're getting a little happy about beating kids' ass. I'm concerned
Hey,
about
look,
you.
hey, sometimes you got to put your foot on their neck.
Nah,
Damn, dog. God.
look, I
Hey,
had
Sweeney
planned
Melvin
on
from
it.
Baby
No,
Boy.
truly, no,
I have
honestly,
to
though,
do it.
I believe. No, truly though, I believe that you should use.
That's
Lil
damn
Jody,
Melvin.
Jody.
Right.
If CPS be at your barbershop in the morning, don't be surprised why.
Hey, y'all better not call the people on me. Why is a man required to raise boys to men?
Why?
Why?
Oh shit, that's
Man, that ain't no. That's a long question.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm gonna give my answer real fast. I'm gonna get up out of here. The reason why I think men should be raising their sons to be men, man, because we can relate, we can understand, we understand the ups and downs, the problems, and what the situation they're going through. That's why it's important.
Okay.
I feel like when boys learn, they need to see an example that looks like them. All right, I'm gonna keep it pretty simple, but yeah, you lead by example, and it shows in all the data that we look at, right? Like the fathers are there, everything works. When they're not, every metric you look at, they suck.
B. Madden answered it earlier when he spoke about how his dad raised him and his brother. Right. I mean, he spoke passionately about it too when he thought about how his dad raised him and his brother.
Now, I came from a 2-parent household. My mom loved us, all that kind of stuff too. I want to, leave her out on that. We had a great balanced household, but my dad had sons, so he had to raise boys to men, straight up. So yeah, you got
you gave Pops a particular accolade though,
yeah.
B. Madden.
Yeah,
You said he did a fantastic job in molding you both into his image to carry his legacy.
Amen.
So the reason why I asked this question, right, is because there was a whole entire debate about whether a man is needed to raise a child or if a woman can raise a child to be a man by herself. And there was a lot that was said, the boy, and the woman's argument was, I can y'all telling me all these things that a man is required for, i.e. teach him how to play football or throw the ball with him or be a guy with him or teach him how to piss or something like that. She was like, I can do all those things too. So what is it that men do that is different that I cannot do to raise a man to be to raise a boy to be a man? And so I started walking around and asking this question. And because it sparked this whole entire week. That's why by the time it got back around to y'all, I wanted to ask it last week. I started asking women, if a boy gets into if a girl starts to assault your son, what would you tell him to do? And the vast majority of them said, I would tell him to defend himself. And I was like, why? And she was like, well, because most of them was like, oh, well, because you don't put your hands on my son, or you know what I mean? You don't put your hands on somebody unless you want to be hands be put on you. Yeah, they came up with their reason. We done heard them all. And I said, that is exactly the reason why you cannot raise a boy to be a man. And I told her this. I said, what do you tell your son when he comes home and he tells you, Mom, why did I get suspended and she didn't? Mom, why did I go to jail but she didn't? See, us as men, we can explain that to our son. We can straight up tell them how the world is unfair to them when it comes to that. We can straight up tell them how we were treated unfairly when it was done to us, and we can show them the ropes in that regard. Women aren't wired to understand that because they are treated totally different from us in the real world. So you go teach your son some things that you would do in real life that is not awarded to him when he does it. So that's where that question came from, fellas.
Let me say something real quick. There's a certain level of structure and discipline that men bring to sons that, women can try to emulate, but it will never be the same, simply because when men are raising boys and trying to train them up to be men, there's a certain, especially when they're going through that teenage phase where they getting testosterone hitting their nuts and stuff, and they start lifting weights and try to pump up a little bit. There's a level of physical threat that you have to have, a physical stature, physical strength that's required to turn a teenage boy into a man that mothers can't do. You know, you can't put him in a headlock when he starts, you know, getting a little crazy, or he's feeling himself, or he's pumping his chest a little bit because he's 15 and, you know, he's got testosterone in his veins. You can't just, you know, nut check him the same way. You can't. People act different. And this is a joke. People act different when real men are in the room, because people know when someone's a physical threat and when they're not. You know, people pop off when it's just women in the room, or it's all good in the hood. But when they feel like somebody can whoop their ass, the whole room changes. The whole air, the energy is different. They're like, let me sit the fuck down real quick, because, you know, dude, you can't mess with dude right there. I don't want no smoke with him. You know, that's a big thing when it comes to raising boys into young men, is having that physical presence, and also just the example of seeing how you carry yourself in all situations, especially difficult situations, how you carry yourself amongst law enforcement, how you carry yourself amongst some type of difficult situation, how is a man supposed to act in different situations. They are literally sitting there and taking notes. You may not realize it, but they see everything and they want to know how they're supposed to move. And those examples are super important. I'm glad Sweeney said the example about the young boy, you know, getting into an argument or getting into altercation with the young girl, and the mother telling them, you know, you got to defend yourself and this and that. We know better. We know what's going to get us in trouble. We understand where the double standards lie in our society, and as a man, that's going to set us up for failure. And we have to show these young men, you know, the path that's going to serve them the best and give them the best opportunity for success.
Really, you got anything to say to that?
Man, something settling in my house. I'm trying to figure out what that noise was.
That's what he was talking about earlier.
Hey, JR, Mo, is she like, she can't sleep in here yet? I'm like, nah, babe, that's just the house settling. You know, it's empty, so the vents are blowing, then you hear shit moving and creaking. You're like, what the hell was just?
You know, it was a warning up at the 10, so it may still be lingering around, like the little tornado warning.
Oh yeah. I was trying to listen for the horn. I think I heard it once I got through Hazelcrest, but
yeah.
And the thing is, Marcus, I think you're good with this stuff, and Trev especially too, when you talk about emotional intelligence and how important it is to teach these young boys about emotional intelligence and how to deal with situations when it comes to dealing with other girls or other women or your mother. You know, when it comes to, you know, dealing with situations that may be stacked against you or may be unfair. How do you navigate those? You know, how do you keep yourself and your emotions in check? Because your emotions can get you killed. Literally, your emotions can put you in jail. Your emotions, what did they say? One of the most dangerous people in the world are men who don't know how to control their emotions. That's one of the most dangerous people in the world. If you can't control yourself, you can't control your emotions as a man, you can go radical here to there. You're a threat to society.
Do you think that a man raised by his mother understands the propensity for violence that men can have?
No.
Not in the same manner.
Not generally.
Not
in the same because manner, they used to. Most these shorties, you know, and I'm thinking, because when you said that, be man, I'm thinking about the schools. Marcus, you know this. Schools don't even have rivalries like they used to when we was growing up. I'm talking about city of Chicago in particular, because they deadly now. You can't even have the friendly rivalry that you Kenwood versus Whitney Young, Julian versus Corliss, Finger versus Carver, Harlan versus I don't even know who Harlan was. You know, understand what I'm saying? You can't even have those because shorties be so emotional and eager to pop off. And one of the reasons why is because they see their mother's emotions unregulated. Again, this all sends us back to the point for why we saying keep the nuclear family together so they have that masculine. I think what you was talking about a lot of B-Man was that masculine presence. You know, it does invoke fear, but it's a reverential fear.
You gotta understand too that it's the media as well, like the songs and like the things that they're consuming. Like they got all that wine and music, you know, all that coping and you know, sipping on that lean and.
No, you know what, JR? That's a really good point because it's called like emo rap or something like that. So when I think about Juice WRLD and that whole wine, you right. I didn't even think about that, but you're right.
Hey, Chicago Real.
XXX Extension, whatever. Yeah, that dude.
I was taking a step.
Lil Uzi Vert, all those guys. All my friends are dead.
I found out what that mean when he did that song. That's supposed to be about money. I had no idea.
Yeah, he's talking about dead presidents. Yeah, he's talking about dead presidents. He's talking about money.
Yeah,
I would have never got that.
Yep.
Hey, but really,
yes, sir.
To add to what you said, I don't even think it's an emotional thing. I think women. Think about how many women can easily step in a man's face, no problem, regardless of how big they are. Because there's a level of they understand that a man won't touch them.
It's a level of protection.
And then imagine they sons seeing their mother step to any man, no matter.
You see it in the schools every day, Sweeney. You see how see how the mothers come to the school stomping through. Who touched who taught woo blah blah blah, and they jump in these coaches and these male teachers' faces the same way. So guess what, Lil Ray finna do? You understand what I'm saying?
Do the same shit.
Right on the same. You know these teachers in these schools now. These kids will cuss them out, and then the teacher got to come back and teach them the next day. No reprimand for them kids. Ain't no detention or in-house detention because now it's so the school's attendance the school attendance is tied to federal funding.
Yep.
Yeah, they care more about that than anything.
Correct.
You're absolutely right.
I got a principal. I cut her son hair, and she tells me all the time how she was like, you can't fail them because that's tied to them. So like if you really want to hold them accountable, it's tied to the funding. Then she was like, you can't suspend them because it's tied to the funding. You can't expel them because it's tied to the funding, and you can't kick them out. And the only thing you can really do is try to transfer them to another school, but then you lose the funding, and the other school gets it. So like a lot of these teachers and a lot of these principal hands are tied behind their back. And part of it is because we got a lot of people out there that don't mind. They raise their kids to be their friend. Like I think our number one job, right? Our number one job as parents is to raise our kids to be able to function amongst other people, understand hierarchy, understand when authority figures, learning how to act amongst other people. And a lot of us have failed at that.
Yeah. Let me ask y'all a question. Do y'all think that men being raised that women are equal, like we're both on equal planes, we're equal in all things, is affecting the way that the young man's minds is coming up?
Like, you mean the assumption that we're all equal, or
so
like
in this space I've heard them say things like we're equal now. Women are equal to men. Women are equal to men.
You damn well know we ain't equal.
No,
but do you think that the younger men believe that? I know we grew up in the era where we understood this.
Some of them might believe what they see on TV.
That I agree with the emasculation of men and trying to soften old school tenants to agree with what the agendas that they're pushing nowadays. Yes.
I have to disagree, Marcus.
Okay.
The reason why I say that is ties to the question I asked earlier. If women truly believe men and women were equal, they wouldn't step in men's faces like that. They know that we're not equal is the reason why they feel like they can do it. So when their sons grow up and they act just as violent as their mama and step in anybody's faces and whatnot, it's because they watched their mothers do it. So if women truly believe that we were equal, a lot of the shit that they do to men, they would not do because they know that the way that I see B Madness equal, man, there's a lot of different things that goes into that. Now, that's why I'm with it on that. That's what I meant by that.
It's been more
I don't understand what you're saying.
Women are enabled.
It's been more of an allocation for men.
Women don't have the ability. Yeah.
Women are enabled because they know they can do something to you without repercussion.
But that's
so
what I'm
the
saying.
newer generation of guys are more willing to fight women than any other generation I experienced.
Kind of took it a little bit. Like if you really think about what he's saying, like, you know how like men know that they're not gonna go back and forth with each other because they know they're gonna pop off. So Sweeney's point, if you really just think a little bit deeper, is saying if they really thought we was equal, then they will move accordingly. But instead, they challenge us. You know, like they're coming our face because they're still trying to like regain that. Well, not regain, but trying to get power from us. But if they really thought we was equal, then they wouldn't operate the way they do. That's what Sweeney is trying to say.
Right, but that's why it's a facade.
Because they won't do it
that's
to
why
women
it's
either.
a facade. It's not real. It's a facade that they think that we're equal. They know we're not equal, but again, they might be broadcasting it and saying that we're equal on different platforms, on YouTube, on the internet, on TV, in these movies. We're equal now. Look at these numbers. Women make more money than they ever have before. Look at these numbers. Women are in more. Black women are in college now, enrolling and this and that, but not seeing the other side of those numbers. The fact that, you know, they're not graduating at that same rate. They might be entering college, but they're not graduating at that same rate. You look at over 75% of women are making less than $75,000. You know what I'm saying? So they're not looking at the other side of that.
So the reason I asked, because I wasn't sure if the young, because I've heard it a lot from the younger men that they willing to actually like fight these girls back. They hit them. They were the equal rights, equal lefts. I heard little statements and stuff like that.
That's crazy.
And,
equal rights, equal lefts.
Yeah,
that's a big thing right now. And it's also how they approach relationships too. Like they don't believe in having a mold or you know, get a woman into the right position as say a man in the past did. So I don't know if they like don't like. So I'm curious if the men in the space, the young, probably under 28, if they actually believe that, or they just saying that for the sake of rhetoric and arguing.
I would say that they probably, like, if we're not in touch with it, it's a lot of things that's probably just flying up under the radar. Like, and I'll give you an example. If you don't pay attention to what your kids watching, like they putting all that stuff that we don't normally see, it's happening. And you could be in the kitchen or something cooking and be like, what? You got a dress on? Turn from this. Turn from this right now. Turn from this. Find something else to watch. Because if I and that's why you got to be kind of like aware as far as what your children are consuming. Like as little kids, you know, we'll hand them the tablet, where, you know, have them watch TVs, but they are putting this stuff in there, and you're not aware that they slipping it in there. And so like your kid is probably seeing this stuff, because even when I saw like a glimpse of something, I think it might have been I don't know if it was a Halloween costume or something. And I said, you know, men don't wear dresses, right? I said it don't happen. Like men should not wear dresses at all. And he said, I know.
Hey Marcus, I can tell you right now that they may say that shit, but I think they're saying that shit just to be saying it, because men get that reality check very early. Like I said, how do you go home and explain to your child that you the one that they the one that got suspended and the little girl didn't? We get that lesson very quickly. That equal rights, equal left shit fly out the window when somebody else, when the laws get involved or when the school get involved. You know what I mean? So I know you hear it in these spaces, and we hear a lot of people say it, but the reality is ain't nobody out there putting paws on women like that, just like as if it's just equal, because you know what comes with it. You know the dangers of doing that. If you don't, you're gonna find out.
Yeah, I mean,
I just looked it up. It said it's increasing by 25 to 33% globally.
Yeah.
Globally, that's a little different, because, you know, I'm talking about here in this country. Over there, you know, there's a lot of shit going on but like here, you learn that lesson really quick.
Well, I'm glad you said that. In other countries, women are more respectable and they respect that pecking order. Over here is a whole different ball game. You go to Dubai, you go to Iran, you go to different places, you go to China. Women do not do the same thing. They do not conduct themselves as women over here do. You understand? So
if they do, they get that backhand over there.
This is interesting.
They get that backhand real quick.
It say it increased to 8.1%. It increased by 8.1%. But the state with the highest is Oklahoma, and it's 49.1% of women, So like 1 out of every 2 women and 40.7% of men are currently enduring domestic abuse.
Do you think it's being tracked and reported more, or that is legitimately increasing?
Yeah, it's definitely been reported.
Men don't report a lot of abuse.
Because when they made the statement earlier about men, like in the past, saying that men were, what did we say, that men are nicer now than they were in the past, or harder now than they were in the past, and those men are soft. You know, it was a time period where they didn't even report domestic violence because it was legal. So
it was just socially accepted.
Yeah, it was socially acceptable.
Yeah.
Here's the rough thing that people don't want to accept. When those certain standards held in households, people stayed in line because there was repercussions to be had. And I'm not saying good, bad, or indifferent. I'm just stating what it was. If Mr. came in the house, M-I-S-T-E-R, Mr., you know what it was. If you know that pot wasn't on the stove with something ready for him to get fed, and then you come to take off his boots and such. Of course, we've advanced, but the pecking order, as stated, women are unable to do what they do in this country more than other places in the world.
And that's because of the structures that's put in place in this country, the structures that are held up by other men. Like, for example, like the police, like the government, that are all being enforced by other men. But there's a structure of why there's a structure in place, which is why these women feel like, you know, they're not going to get hit or get touched, or they feel more confident poking their chest out because I know you sock me in the face, your ass going to jail. And there's nothing I got to do about it.
So here's the thing: they should feel like they're not going to get hit, because here's the reason that this is what I really be trying to advocate for. Something innate in women when they love or like you makes them want to serve you. The same way you saying with the pot of food and take your shoes off. Once you reach whatever that ideal precipice in a relationship is, you can get that type of behavior out of somebody without having to physically put hands on them. Similar to how I can get my kids to behave without having to whoop them, because I put the extra work in to figure out how to reward and penalize without having to use violence. And you could do something similar within a relationship where you reward positive behavior and you negatively punish. And I'm not saying hit or nothing. It might just be, hey, I'm not going to the restaurant. I don't know. Whatever the thing is that person wants, if you remove it because of you being mistreated, then you can move forward without having to put your hands on it. And now you can get the exact type of treatment that is ideal, but it has to be worked out. So that's really what I'll be advocating for when I be trying to go into the little stories about how I think women can be good and this, and the third. But it's a process of learning and maturation of really understanding what makes that person tick. So why you laughing, Sweeney?
Because I had a stupid ass question I wanted to ask you.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'll go say, okay. I'll dig what you're saying. So let's say for the reward, you buy her a brand new purse.
Okay.
But for the punishment, you punch her in the back of her neck.
No, not at all. No violence whatsoever.
All right, man, we're gonna go ahead.
Whatsoever, ever, none whatsoever.
I told you it was gonna be a stupid question.
I wouldn't expect
y'all
that.
take care.
Hey, you said punish and reward.
Yeah, I punished my kids. I never spanked them before. Think about it.
Hey, it's all of it a form of punishment.
Fellas, it was great talking with y'all.
You can't follow that question with the question you had before that, bro. You had an awesome question and then that. Damn, son.
Hey, man, I told y'all I was home. I told y'all I was sleeping.